Good morning, everybody. Republican candidate for Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor Ben Voelkel is our very special guest today, Friday, May 6th, 2022. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching Meet the Candidate, a live video podcast where we get to know the candidates running for offices all across Wisconsin. Special thank you to our guest yesterday, Republican candidate for Wisconsin Governor Kevin Nicholson. He joined us for a chat about his campaign running for governor. In case you missed that, you can watch a recording of that and all of our shows on our website at DrydenWire.com, our Facebook page right here on Facebook, of course, or you can just go to our YouTube channel. We store all of our videos there, just YouTube/DrydenWire. Next week, Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald is back after taking a week off from our show for what I think is going to be our 94th show this next Tuesday. We'll be joined by a special guest during that show, and later in the week, I'll be joined by 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany for our monthly Breakfast with Tiffany show. And 1 week from today, Republican candidate for Wisconsin Governor Rebecca Clayfish will be joining us live right here on Dryden Wire. But today we're chatting with Republican candidate for Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor Ben Voelkel. Ben, what's good, my man?
A lot of things are good. I'm started the day off with a good walk with my dog, and now I'm talking with you, and I'm have some coffee. So everything's coming up good.
That's awesome. And so you were on you came on for a live show. It was last year. I think it was in September. And we ended up spending most of the time, because we usually like to, the first time a guest is on, we like to actually go through let's get to know you kind of a thing. But we didn't get into a lot of issues. So those are some things I want to kind of get to today, and we can kind of talk about your campaign trail. We don't really have like a list of things written down. It's just kind of where are you and what's going on. But I have known you for, I don't know, it's been a while, at least a year. You and I have some mutual friends, so I've had the pleasure of getting to know you personally as well. And plus, with a name like Ben, you can't go wrong, dude.
We're good people.
We just are. That's what I'm trying to tell people. So you are now out on the campaign trail, but you know what? Actually, even though we did do the more of that meet the candidate, more of the meet and greet type thing last year, give us a quick, for people who maybe are maybe they didn't watch it last year, just now learning about you. Give us the quick bio version, the bullet point version.
Yeah, born and raised in Wisconsin. Spent about the last 5 years working side by side with Senator Johnson as his communications director. So I learned a lot from Ron about what it takes to stand up and do the right thing, fight for what you believe in. And that's the kind of leadership I think we need more of, not only out in Washington, where he's fighting the good fight, but we need more of that kind of leadership in Madison, get our state government turned around. And so that's why I'm stepping up and running for lieutenant governor. We need somebody that's going to be a strong advocate, somebody that's able to take what I hope is a really aggressive agenda, and an agenda that focuses on the big issues that need to be addressed, and somebody that can go out there and sell it, get people excited about it all across the state, and help enact some change to get things turned around, because we deserve better than the way things are going right now.
Well, we should probably start there. How are things going right now? And it sounds like you're not a super big fan. Could you elaborate on that a little bit further? What are the things that you're seeing right now that, this is why we need a change, and that change should be me?
Yeah, as I'm going around the state talking to people, and I've been to, I think, 46 of the 72 counties so far. So I'm going to be hitting 3 more this weekend. So what we need to do is get back to the basics. Good jobs, good schools, and safe communities. It doesn't seem like that should be too much to ask, right? Those are the basics that anybody should expect their government to be able to take care of. But when you look at it, schools, kids are falling further and further behind. Our economy is a mess. It's gotten so bad that there's a restaurant in town here that I stop by every now and then. They've got a sign outside that says, "No help needed." That's how bad things are. Things are so screwed up that a restaurant thinks what differentiates itself is that it has a full staff, that you can go in and somebody's going to take care of you right away, and you're going to get your food in a timely manner. It's crazy. And then, safe communities. we're seeing a rise in drugs and violent crime that is really tearing apart families, tearing apart communities, and tearing at the fabric of our state. So that really needs to be addressed. I'm concerned about that, especially as we see what's going to be coming up here in the next few months. Uh, President Biden looks like he's going to just open the floodgates at the southern border. And even though we're not South Texas, we're not Tucson, Arizona, those problems find their way up to Wisconsin in the form of drugs and human smuggling. And those sorts of issues are going to come home to roost really quick if we don't get them under control.
So when you've been to over 40 counties, you're going to more. When you are going out there, and it's been several months that you've been going and doing these, what are like the most frequently asked questions that you get? The ones that are, no matter where I go, because obviously there's a difference between Southeast, like Milwaukee and Spooner, right? Different needs, different views, guns, like that topic. That's a different conversation when you're in Milwaukee than you are when you're in rural Northwest Wisconsin. It's just a different conversation. It's a conversation that should be had, but is there something that is just echoed no matter where you go? These two or three things always come up.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, people are worried about election integrity. There's a lot of concerns out there about the way our elections are administered, and I hope we get a chance to talk about that a little bit more.
Sure.
Another issue that everybody talks about is kids and education. People are really concerned about the kind of education their kids are getting because, young people only get one chance to learn the skills and the knowledge that they need to be able to succeed. And right now, in a lot of places across our state, urban, rural, southern Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, really cuts across everybody. There's a lot of parents they have a lot of concerns that their kids aren't getting the kind of education that they need to succeed down the line. And then probably the most frequent question is, who are you going to back for governor, which I haven't made my mind up about yet.
Hold on a second.
I want to make sure.
Hold on. I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I just assumed, and I shouldn't do that, I know. But I didn't think that was that does make sense. I guess I haven't really heard of anyone, and maybe some of your opponents have said something. I haven't heard that yet. I just didn't know that a lieutenant governor running in a primary, that some of them, or maybe all of them at some point do, that they say who they would be endorsing for governor. Is that a thing?
Well, I think it's up to each individual person. I haven't heard too much, talk about that so far. I think there's probably a couple people that have their favorites. What I tell people is I'm letting it play out. I'm undecided myself because you learn a lot about somebody over the course of a campaign, and I want to see sort of how these candidates act under pressure, how they handle the rigors and the tough schedule, the tough situations they're put in as a candidate, because that's going to show a lot about the kind of governor that they'll end up being. But I've a lot of confidence I'll end up being able to work with whoever gets elected.
So that's a question that you get asked often, no matter where you go in these counties, is who are you? And that makes sense now I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the heart of it, people kind of either they have a favorite and they want to try to see if I'm backing that same person, or they're just trying to get a sense of the kind of candidate that you are. But I think we get a lot of strong candidates out there. We're going to do a lot better than Tony Evers, which I know isn't saying too much to a lot of people. But we're going to have a strong governor candidate in the fall, and I'll be happy to work with them.
So I went on your website this morning. It's, what is it? Ben for Wisconsin, right? Mm-hmm. Is that the? Yep, there it is. benforwisconsin.com. Which, by the way, when this is finished and your campaign's finished, and I'm assuming you're going to win, right? Because we don't want to say if you win, it's when you win. So when you win, I would like to buy that domain from you.
we can negotiate that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, it was available last summer. I mean, you could have snatched it up already.
I didn't even think about it. That's awesome. And I wouldn't be running for anything, or maybe, I don't know. That's just awesome. I totally want to buy that domain. But when I went on there, at first I thought it was really, I'm going to say cute, but maybe that's a wrong word, but I like it. Right when you go onto your website, it says, "Thanks for coming by. If you're here, you probably like me." I like that touch. That's awesome.
You gotta make sure that people are, even if they don't already like me, you gotta plant the seed that they're gonna like you
You're
at the end
gonna
of
like me.
checking out the website. Yeah.
Yeah. And under your issues tab, it says we face a choice between two futures, a future defined by reliance on an expanding government that takes a bigger and bigger role in each of our lives, or a future where opportunity allows each of us to flourish. I choose opportunity. And here are 3 ways an aggressive opportunity agenda will help Wisconsin flourish. And then I just, there's 3 of them in here, so I wrote that down. Economic opportunity, educational opportunity, and opportunity to live in a safe community. So if it's all right with you, can we kind of get into each of those? So economic opportunity, could you elaborate on that? And what do you mean by that?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, our economy's a mess. A lot of that has to do with Joe Biden and Tony Evers and the way that they've handled things. But look, I filled up my tank last night and it was $4.20 for a gallon of gas, and I'm going to be driving to Trempealeau County and Barron County and Marathon County, and then back down to Dane County, then back home to Waukesha County tomorrow night, and that's going to take more than one tank of gas. So
Right.
it's expensive, and there's a lot of people that are feeling the pinch every single day, whether it's paying for gas to go to work, whether it's paying for groceries, whether it's a small business, just even getting the goods that they need to try and turn around and turn into something else or turn around and sell. It's tough. It's tough, and people are feeling the pinch. So one of the things that I want to do is to get our economy in a place where we're one of the best places, not only in the Midwest, but in the entire country for people to live, work, and do business. And so I'd like to see us get rid of the state income tax. I think that would be a big thing that we could do as a state to sort of put out the welcome sign
Mhm.
and make sure that people all across our country, all across the Midwest, know that if they move to Wisconsin, you're going to have a little bit more money in your paycheck. You're going to have more control over how you spend your money. And if you're a small business, it's going to give you a big leg up. It's going to give you the opportunity to really grow and succeed and hire more people and make our state the kind of place that people who maybe if they spend part of the year in Florida, maybe we keep them up here in Wisconsin all year round. And there's nothing but benefits to that
Yeah.
in my estimation.
Okay. The next one is educational opportunity.
hmm Yeah, I think every kid should have the opportunity to go to a great school. Whether your school is failing because it's not living up to the kind of standards that parents expect, whether schools have sort of gone off in a different direction and started getting more focused on some of these um, ancillary issues to the basics of reading, writing, and math,
Mm.
or whether parents just think there should be a better alternative out there. Parents deserve to have the opportunity to send their kid to the best educational opportunity that they can possibly find. And so I'm for universal school choice, having the money follow the students so that every kid can find the kind of education they deserve.
Why don't we have that now?
It's a good question. That's a very good
Awesome.
question.
Thank you.
No,
All right. Well,
so
show's over.
I
I got
was
my good question in for the day.
I was up in Minocqua a couple months ago now,
Mhm.
and I was sitting down with a newspaper editor, and he asked me the exact same question. And the
Mhm.
question was basically why, Republicans had the state Senate, the state Assembly, Governor Walker, for a number of years. Why did that not? Why did that not happen? Now that so many people who are running for office, like myself for the first time, but others who have been in the state Senate, who've been in the state Assembly during those times, they're talking about these same sort of things. And the question is, why now? Why was this not done earlier? And I don't have a good answer for that. I mean, I think that's kind of on the folks that were in the state Senate and didn't get it done before.
Yeah.
I appreciate that now they've seen the importance of it, but this is something that's been important for a long time
Yeah.
and should have been acted on earlier.
Yeah. And the third one that was on there was opportunity to live in a safe community. Now, that seems like a pretty big umbrella. I think there's a lot that could
It
probably
is.
fall under that.
It is. Yeah. I think what falls underneath that is violent crime. We've got to get our violent crime problem under control. We need to make sure that people that commit violent offenses are facing higher bails, longer prison sentences. But it also gets to drugs. We are facing an epidemic of drug overdoses in the state of Wisconsin. We set a record last year. I believe we set a record the year before. We're on pace to set another record this year on top of all that. And the numbers for drug overdose deaths are striking. And each and every one of those people, that's a family member that is lost, a neighbor, a coworker, people that are really, they're important. Everybody's an important member of our community and our state, but they're people that really, they're missed. And we are poor as a state, not only economically, but morally, socially, when those people, have a drug overdose, when they die. And so we need to do more to get our drug problem under control. That's one of the things. I wrote an op-ed yesterday in Wisconsin Right Now, the website, and talking about how Governor Evers needs to do more to push back against some of Joe Biden's border policies, where he's just going to be opening the floodgates, letting up to 18,000 people, is one estimate, through every single day through our southern border. And there's going to be just tremendous amount of problems that come with that. A lot of Democrats across the country, members of the U.S. Senate, a lot of governors are pushing back against this, but Tony Evers hasn't, and I think that's a big problem.
Well, I don't know. It's like that's kind of an obvious one, though, right? And I don't mean this. This is not anti-Democrat. I think this is just that's how politics work. You probably wouldn't want a Democratic governor to push back on a Democratic president. And if that was a Republican governor and a Republican president, isn't that also just kind of well, it makes sense. And maybe if he doesn't like it, like Governor Evers, for example, obviously I don't know where he is on that, but isn't that just kind of, that's standard operating procedure for politics?
Well, that doesn't make it right.
Good point. All right.
I mean, no, but it's the truth. Yeah. We need people to do the right thing, not just do what's politically convenient because the leader of their party, whether it's, out in Washington or here in Wisconsin, says jump. People need to think for themselves and decide what they're going to do. And it really, even Mandela Barnes is pushing back against this. Members of the United States Senate that are running for re-election, Democrats, they're pushing back against this. Joe Biden is unmoved, and Tony Evers, isn't exactly, giving himself a badge of courage by sitting on the sidelines here, especially when we're just seeing this epidemic of overdoses that's literally killing people.
Yeah. We have a question here from Sarah. You hope that you can see it on the screen. Seeing a lot of concern in women's college athletics where transgender athletes are overtaking entire divisions, particularly in swimming and track and field. Yeah, so where do you stand? I think that would be, where do you stand on the issue of transgender and athletics and how that topic right there. And where you want to go with that is up to you, but I think it's a good question, Sarah. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. Look, we saw what played out over with the women's swimming championships over the course of the spring. I think it's kind of crazy. I think it's not kind of crazy. I think it is crazy. We need to be making sure that girls are competing on an even playing field. And, I'm not the fastest guy. I'm not the, best jumper or whatever, but I have a bigger body. I'm a man. And I think it would be unfair on a number of different levels for me to compete, in women's collegiate sports. And so I'm not the greatest athlete ever, so it's not like I'm going to go out and maybe win. But, if you take a Division I male athlete, put them next to a Division I female athlete, they're just different. And so women should have the opportunity to compete and win championships, women's sports. And men should be competing in men's sports. I just think it's an even playing field at that point. And
Sure.
And that's the way it should be.
Sure. And just to clarify, so when you were saying this, you kind of think it's crazy. The crazy part isn't transgenders, right? This is the topic of in sports and how that is playing out. Just want to.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
No.
Yeah. So that's my daughter actually asked me the other day, and it was, kids, they always ask the best questions. And it was, so how does that work? We were actually talking about this topic. So I guess it wasn't the other day. Maybe it was like a month or two ago. And the question was, so if that individual who now is, identifies as a female, perfectly fine, but is playing in a female sport, but now let's say in 10 years from now, and maybe there were some records broken during that time or something, and now the individual, for whatever reason, because that's perfectly their right as well, to now identify now as a male, what happens to those records? I'm like, I don't think we've gotten that far yet. I don't really know, honey. Yeah, there is a lot of questions there, and we could probably spend a lot of time on that, but I also wrote down, you wanted to bring up election integrity. That seems to be a very popular topic right now, is election integrity. So what would you like to say about that?
Yeah, I think we need to get rid of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. I know that the state legislature passed a number of bills over the course of, early part of this year, election reform bills that, on their own, probably totally fine. They got vetoed by Tony Evers, and obviously Tony Evers is wrong to veto those. But like you said, sometimes politics overrides common sense. Mm. But what I think we need to do, because none of those bills got to the heart of the issue, which is the Wisconsin Elections Commission, the folks that are deciding how to interpret the laws that are already on the books. And they got pretty creative interpreting those over the course of the last couple of years and greenlit things that never should have been greenlit. And so what we need to do to make sure that the laws we pass are actually followed is we need to get rid of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. It's unaccountable. They have bureaucrats that are career lawyers embedded in state government. You have people that are appointed by the governor, by the state legislature, who then once they're appointed, they face really no accountability. They can't be removed. And so what I'd like to see us do is go to a system like, I think it's roughly 30 other states in the country have, which is an elected official oversees the elections, where, if somebody's not following the law in that case, you and me, Ben, we can vote them out of office the next time that an election comes around. And that puts a lot of incentives on actually just doing the job, which is administer the law as written, not trying to get creative, not trying to, create your own rules, create your own laws, but just follow the law as it was intended, as the people's representatives in the state legislature voted on. And that really should be, at the heart of what administering an election is. The legislature puts a lot of time into coming up with exactly how these laws should be administered. They have that responsibility. They have that right and task in the Constitution. And so that's really where the power should reside. Have the legislature pass the election laws, and then just have an administrator basically just make sure they get followed.
So as in your capacity, then, you're elected lieutenant governor. Mm-hmm. What role can you play in that? Because it sounds like this is something in terms of the Elections Commission, kind of getting rid of that I'm just assuming, right? That's a legislature decision or process. Mm-hmm. What role do you as lieutenant governor? So you say, I'd like to see that gone. How do you get that gone as lieutenant governor, or changed? What you're talking about?
Yeah, well, I think it's doing things like this, talking to you, going around the state, talking to people all across the state, and raising this as an issue and raising this as a solution and explaining why.
So kind of using the lieutenant governor's position as kind of a microphone to be able to have those conversations.
And Ben, that's what I've been doing since, I think, October. I was one of the first people, in the lieutenant governor's race to come out and make this point, take this position. I've been talking about it since then. And after that, Rebecca Clayfish has come out in support of it. Kevin Nicholson has come out in support of it. Mm-hmm. Now, other people in the lieutenant governor's race have come out and supported it. I'm not going to say that I'm, was behind Rebecca Clayfish or Kevin Nicholson changing their opinion, but I think I helped start a conversation
Wow.
And it's the kind of thing that we need more people to do, which is to be unafraid to take some bold stances, defend them, argue them, and change minds, get people to take a look at it,
Mm.
and be take the kind of steps that uh, might not otherwise be taken.
Yeah, be that leader. And there's nothing wrong with
Mhm.
following, right? As long as you're following a good leader. So speaking of taking bold opinions and views and not kind of shying away from it and being transparent, I'm going to have to bring up, because it just happened, Roe v. Wade. So where do you stand on this and the situation that is happening right now? Are you in support of this getting overturned if it does come to fruition?
Yeah, I think that's the important point. Is you know I don't think people should get too ahead of ourselves or get too excited about what might be around the corner, because this is still uh, you know draft, I guess, version of things, and so you don't want to get too down a road and then have things change. But no, I'm in support. I'm a very strong pro-life individual. I feel that way for a number of reasons, but two very important ones to me are two members of my family that have been adopted and that have made my life so much more enriched, so much more enjoyable, and have helped me so much along the way. I mean, I have a it's my cousin's daughter, so I don't know exactly what that if there's a name for that relationship or
Probably,
not,
yeah.
but it's a cute little 2-year-old girl that I see at all the family
Aw.
get-togethers and functions, and she just lights up a room. She makes everybody happy, puts a smile on everybody's face, and just is a light in everybody's life. And then my uncle, who I think I mentioned last time I was on, I had a kidney transplant about a
Yeah.
year and a half ago, and my uncle was really helpful going through all that because he had gone through a similar situation about 20 years ago. And so seeing him go through that, seeing the way that he's been able to continue leading his life in a very active, full way, made me going through that a whole heck of a lot less scary,
Yeah.
made it a lot more manageable. And, he also was the guy that started taking me to Wisconsin Badger basketball games and football games and all that sort of thing. Taught me how to heckle the referees, and so all sorts of valuable life
Yes,
lessons.
yes.
But no, just knowing how important those two people are to me and my family, and knowing how many more people like them are out there,
Mm.
and also could be out there, should be out there. Um, that really informs my personal views on the issue, and I'm a strong supporter of pro life issues.
Sure. There's something coming up this week, so I'm hoping you can kind of explain to me what this is. I don't even know what it's called. There's a convention. It's for Republicans. I don't know if it's called the Republican Convention or if this
Mhm.
is a committee. I don't know what that is, but there's something coming up. What is that? And are you a
So
part
yeah,
of
this
that?
Yep. So the Republican State Convention is coming up in a couple weeks. It's in Madison on May 20th, May 21st. So kind of funny that Republicans all across the state have decided to get together in Madison to talk about the future of the party. But that's, I guess,
Okay.
rotates around to different cities all across the state. So it was Madison's turn, I guess, this time. But it's a gathering for people from all the different counties, all the different parties across the state to get together and vote on, the resolutions, the party platform, but also hear from candidates for lieutenant governor, for attorney general, um, for state treasurer, secretary of state.
When you say
Uh,
hear from, do you get up on a stage and talk, or is it just like everybody's just walking around talking like a
it's
like?
both.
Oh, okay.
It's both. Yeah. So, for the vast majority of the time, I'll be going around talking to people, shaking hands,
Oh, sure.
catching up with people I've met a million times and meeting new people. But then also, there's an opportunity for certain candidates to get up on stage and, give their pitch, give a speech. And at the end of it, there's a vote to see whether the party will formally endorse anybody. what I've been talking about and what I've been concerned about is that there were rules that were put in place that were going to limit who is able to get up on stage.
Yeah, you would. I
And
just wrote that down. You put certain candidates. Like, gonna have to follow up on that one. Certain candidates. So how does that work?
Yeah, so the state party, and they did this back in December, I guess. I found out about it in January.
Nice.
Put rules in place to limit who is able to seek the endorsement. And there were financial rules that you had to have a certain amount of money raised from a certain number of donors. And fortunately, I was able to meet those marks. But a lot of people in the race didn't have the resources or didn't have those metrics met. And so they were going to be kept off the stage, even though they were going around the state campaigning with everybody else and talking to voters everywhere. And I thought that was wrong. So one of the things I did, I donated to each of my opponents just to try to get them a little bit closer to meeting those thresholds and getting a chance to be up on stage. Thankfully, state party looks like they're kind of coming around to their senses a little bit and are going to make it a little bit more accessible for all the candidates, which is good because the grassroots people of our party, they deserve to hear from everybody. They deserve to have their voices heard, and the only way they're going to have their voices heard is if they get to hear from all the candidates and they get to make an informed decision.
I'm sorry, you said you donated to your opponents?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I've done a lot of these shows, and that's the first time I've ever heard that.
Well, again, it's not politics as usual, but I donated. It wasn't much. It was $1.
But it was to help get hit that one of the metrics.
Yeah. You had to have a certain number of donors in order to be eligible. So I went around, I donated to each one of my opponents $1. And that might seem not much, but
because it isn't.
Race with 9,
but it wasn't about the money.
It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about the money. It was about the message.
Sure.
And in a race with 9 people, I mean that's a lunch.
Right. Right.
I skipped Subway that day.
Yeah. Nice. So when they're down there, so they can, you said they go up and then people can kind of decide who's ever there, kind of who they're backing. What comes with that? And is that kind of a big deal? Like as you had said, there's 9 Republicans running for lieutenant governor. I think there's 2 or 3 for governor. I think someone else was just now in.
There's 4. 5.
There's 4 now.
5, actually.
Jeepers.
5.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm really behind that because I thought there was 3. All right. But Attorney General, there's, I think, 2 or maybe 3 now Republicans. It was just Tony and Jarko, and I think somebody else now. Mm-hmm. But are these big things? Like if you, win? I don't know if we call it that, right? But you get the endorsement. What does that mean then for that candidate? And is it that big a deal or it's whatever? Yeah,
it can mean a lot. Because what comes with an endorsement is not only do you say you're endorsed, but you get the financial resources of the state party, you get the human resources of the state party. So if you have a volunteer anywhere across the state that's going out and volunteering for the Republican Party of Wisconsin, they're going out and they're knocking doors, they're making phone calls, and they're saying,
on your behalf,
vote for Ben.
Sure.
And so that's a huge, manpower amplifier there that you wouldn't have otherwise. And so it can be significant. There's also the possibility that nobody gets endorsed, and then we just have a fair fight to the primary in August.
And now, is this it's the coveted thing, right? Is there been anyone that wins that and then goes on to lose the election? Is that normal? Is it a 50-50? Is that kind of unheard of? That pretty much if you win this, you're kind of a shoe-in for the primary.
Yeah, I'm not sure what if there's ever been somebody that's lost. Sure. But I think the record is pretty strong.
Sure.
Yeah, if it's not undefeated, there's maybe 1 or 2 that's lost along the way. So it really gives you a huge leg up.
Yeah. So do you have, by the way, vote? What do your yard signs say? I don't know if you can put those up yet, or your signs. Do they say vote for Ben, or is your last name in there?
We haven't put them up yet, but it'll say Ben, and and has big state of Wisconsin on there too.
Okay, so
My
there's
color,
no last
blue and
name
yellow.
though, right? No Voelkel?
I'll tell you what, it gets pretty long. It gets pretty long
All
if
right. Well, I'm just
you have to
asking
put it
because,
on there.
again, after I then purchased Ben for Wisconsin domain name, if you need to get rid of some signs, I'll just put those
I
up
can send them
everywhere.
your
I won't
way.
even say what I'm running for. I'll just say vote for Ben, and I'll put signs up everywhere. I'll buy them from you for cheap, and then, I don't know. We'll see what I get written in for.
There you go.
Do you fish?
Put them out in the yard every November. Yeah.
Every year. What's he running for? I don't know, but vote for him. Are you a fisherman?
A little bit. Not. I'm not a huge fisherman, but
Yeah,
I know the fishing opener is this weekend.
Oh yeah. I always know when it's because I don't fish either. I always know when it's fishing opening weekend because that's the only time we ever see our governor. So he'll be up here. Actually, I think in Washburn. I think he's in Shalake tomorrow. I can't remember. I think it's tomorrow. He'll be. Yeah, it's fishing, and it's the same thing with when Walker was a governor. It's not a Democrat thing. It's just we usually see our governors when it's the fishing opening weekend. So there you go.
Well, I've been going all across the state, like I said, and I think I've been up your way, north of Highway 8.
Yeah, you've been up here quite a bit.
About four or five times just this year alone. So it's a big state. I'm trying to get everywhere as often as I can, but I love northwestern Wisconsin. It's a beautiful part of the state, and I've mostly been up there on the campaign during the winter. So I'm looking forward to campaigning up there during the summer, spring and summer.
Yeah, summertime is just spring and summer, well, and fall. Actually, pretty much every season except for winter. I mean, I love winter, but not a lot of other people do. But in terms of just how beautiful it is, you just can't beat it.
I was up there in the probably October, right when the leaves were changing. It was beautiful.
I know. What else do you want to make sure that we talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Yeah, I think what we need to be looking at as a state is just the understanding that we deserve better. We deserve better than what we've been getting from Tony Evers, but really we deserve better than what we've been getting, from the status quo. We need people that aren't afraid to shake things up in Madison, and I'm standing here ready to do that because, I don't owe anything to anybody. I'm just running because I love this state. I love the people of Wisconsin, and I want to make sure that we have a better future 10, 15, 20 years from now than we do right now. And that shouldn't be too much to ask. But that's kind of, that's what's on the line. That's what's on the ballot is doing these big things. What kind of state are we going to be? Are we going to be a state that becomes more and more dependent on the government? Or are we going to be the state that gets back to, valuing hard work, giving people the opportunity to work hard, succeed, and advance? People like my grandma, who grew up in Crandon in a house without electricity or running water. And, she moved to Milwaukee to marry my grandfather, and she worked 2 jobs. My grandpa drove city bus, and they worked their tails off so my dad could have more opportunity than they had. And that's the kind of, generation after generation, working hard, striving, advancing, sacrificing for the next generation. That's what I'm worried that we're missing out on and that we're losing when we have things like people sitting on the workforce, when we have things like small businesses getting shut down by bureaucratic rules and overreach and governors' unconstitutional rulings, and when kids don't have the opportunity to get the education they deserve. And so that's why I'm running, because we deserve better than what we're getting, and I think we've got a better day ahead of us, and would love for people to get on board, support me. They can check out my website, like you said, benforwisconsin.com.
It's just a placeholder for now. It's Ben Voelkel. It's just a placeholder. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll swap. I'll take the DrydenWire. You take Ben for Wisconsin. And...
Deal. Then you can get all of our emails too. That'd be great. I don't have to deal with those anymore. Ben, thanks so much, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You're a good friend. I wish you the absolute best, and good luck in this race. And I know that you and I will be talking offline throughout this, but when you win the primary, then jump back on with us after that. We'll mark you down for a Friday, the first Friday after the election, the primary.
That sounds good.
We're just going to write it in right now.
Good to me.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
Special thank you to our guest Republican candidate for Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor, Ben Voelkel, for joining us for a chat this morning. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden. I'll see you right back here on Tuesday when Fitzy and I will be joined by special guests for our 94th episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. Until then, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day. By the way, Lieutenant. You know,
Lieutenant. Lieutenant.
How many times did you have to practice that? Because I kept putting in LT for all these previews for you coming on. Because I'm like, Lieutenant, L-E. If there's an I in there
line
somewhere, right?
I got the squiggly line under my computer a lot until I figured it out.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, man.